Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is an important editorial. It is all about space policy. I usually tell students any article related to space or space technology or achievements of our country, very important. You may get as a passage in prelims or mains, and in descriptive English also there's a possibility. So this is all about space policy, a new policy. If you wonder why a new policy, why is it required? In the past, if you look at space frontier, only it was taken up by the government agencies. But today, a lot of private players are there because a lot of private players are trying to complement the programs, and based on that, a new policy has been brought into picture, and the new policy provides a platform for the private players to contribute or complement. There's a Based on this, you have to think of the broad framework. What is the achievement so far? What is the policy? What are the features of the new policy? What role private players are going to play? And what is the role of a foreign direct investment? And coming to our neighbor, China, there's a mention. What is their advantage? What is our advantage? All these aspects are covered in a systematic way. Let us start with the question, what is this editorial about? This editorial is about the evolving landscape of. Usually, the word landscape goes with good morning, good morning. Usually, the word landscape goes with painters. When painters, the typical subject, favorite subject, a landscape, they go to outskirts or they go to a forest area and they see a particular view that is known as landscape. But in this context, something like the field, the realm. There's one important word you have to learn. How do you pronounce this? A realm. A realm means a particular field. We are talking about a particular field, evolving landscape, evolving a realm related to space frontier, evolving landscape of India's space sector. And the recent policy, as I said, this editorial is all about the recent policy related to space technology and space sector. The recent policy measures taken by the government to open up the sector to private and foreign investments. Again, as I said, in the past, space frontier belonged to the government agencies, but today a lot of private players are coming into picture. They are complementing, they are contributing, and also not only the domestic players, international players, and the investment not only within the country but from outside the country. It touches two dimensions. One is the private players, and the other one, foreign direct investment, foreign investments. What is the tone of the editorial? Because it is related to science, space technology, space frontier, it has to be analytical and it has to be informative. Based on that, the tone of the editorial is generally informative and analytical. At the outset, I would like to say this is not an editorial that goes with a layman. You got to be an intellectual, you got to have some sort of background, and you got to read a few sentences very carefully and meticulously. Only then you will be able to follow. But I brought the words, nothing to worry. There are about 16 words or 14 words, and some of these words are very important. Let us start with the first one. What is the first one over here? Frontier. Frontier, part of speech noun, a border between two countries. Frontier, literal meaning, border between two countries. But in the context, another meaning of frontier, a particular field, a particular area, a particular sphere, a particular arena. There are so many words you have to think of. Sphere, a realm, arena. They have other meanings as well. And arena usually goes with sports. It may go with any field for that matter. Frontier, a border between two countries. Space, frontier, the field of space. The second word, narrative. Narrative also an important word because if you take English language, when it comes to essays, we have different types of essays. One of the types of essays, narrative essays, means stories. Simply, what does it mean? A story or a description of events. But generally, it goes with a story. Implications, implied, implications. Imply is a verb form and implications noun. Something that is suggested or happens indirectly. There are two words you have to learn. One is explicit. The other one is implicit. You all know when it comes to competitive exams, reading comprehension skill plays a major role or the deciding factor to get the final job or final selection. When it comes to reading comprehension skill, we have four topics, exam topics: passage, close test, parajumble, scrambled sentences, and the fifth one, it goes with mains paragraph. For all these, the most important skill that is required, reading comprehension skill. And when you read, there are two types of reading. One is casual reading to understand what the writer has written or what the writer wanted to convey. That is lower level of reading to understand, to comprehend. But higher level analytical reading, when you read a passage, you question the writer. A lot of questions pop up. What does he want to convey? Is it subjective? Is it objective? Does he take his own stand or does he present the information based on facts and figures? That is analytical reading. And here, when it comes to a passage, the questions are based on explicit information or implicit information. Explicit means printed in the passage. Even a child can answer. All that you have to do, take the key words in the passage and navigate, locate, and you get the answer. But if the questions are based on implicit information, means what? Suggested, indirect, not direct, you got to be a little careful and you have to read analytically. An important word: endeavor, part of speech noun, endeavors, plural. To strive, to achieve, or reach. He has taken up an endeavor, a new endeavor, means a new project, not a casual project, an important project to achieve something or strive for something. Today, the words are very important. You have to remember these words. Who is this? I will do that, Ganesh. Compliment, an important word. If you wonder why is it important, there are two words you have to recollect. One is compliment. Got to be careful with spelling. I will underline the letter I. First one. Second one, complement. Here the letter E. But in this context, you have to remember the third word that is part of mnemonics. Mnemonics means what? Memory techniques. Here, I means compliment. First one is to praise. Praise someone. He has given a compliment. But this compliment to complete something. What is the spelling of compliment? The second one, PLE. What is the spelling of complete? PLE. These two try to associate. You never get confused. Compliment, compliment. They have given many a time. Here, not praising someone, it is a thing that contributes extra features to something else in such a way as to improve or emphasize its quality. Something else is contributed either to make it better or to complete it. Based on that, we use the word complement. The spelling E. Augment is an important word. Today it is in the limelight because today, if you go to the Western countries, in our country also, incipient form means initial stage. But Western countries, especially in the US, augmented reality, virtual reality, the most happening field after AI. You all know artificial intelligence, the most happening thing around the world, and the US is 6 years ahead of other countries when it comes to artificial intelligence and augmented reality or virtual reality. Augment, make something greater by adding to it. Increase, one meaning increase. Augmented reality, virtual reality, separate fields altogether. Spur, we have got many a time, part of speech verb, to encourage an activity or development. Spur means what? To encourage or make something happen. Ambitious, you are all ambitious youth. The word ambitious goes with you guys. When I see youngsters, I say those who are preparing for competitive exams, you are all ambitious youth. Ambition, you have the ambition. What does it mean? Having or showing a strong desire and determination to succeed. You want to succeed, you're intelligent, you're diligent, you're hardworking, and then motivated. We use the word ambitious youth. A typical combination you have to remember. Vitiate, an important word. Part of speech verb, spoil or impair the quality or efficiency of. Spoil the quality of something, spoil the efficiency of something, and we use the verb vitiate, an important word, not a regular word. Hamstring. Hamstring goes with medicine. It goes with muscles, but it has another connotation. In this context, not the medical meaning of the word hamstring. Hamstrung is a past form. Severely restrict the efficiency or effectiveness of something. In a way, these two are related. Vitiate and hamstring, negative words, negative connotation, severely restrict someone's movement or someone's efficiency or the progress. Belligerent, an important word they have given in bank exams many a time. SSC also. Part of speech, adjective. Hostile and aggressive. Generally, bellicose, belligerent, they go with war. And they mean ready to attack, aggressive, ready to attack. Hostile. Hostile is an important word. Hostility is a noun form. Hostile, enmity, antagonistic. All these are negative words, but important words. Skew actually goes with designers. Designers they use the word skew. Skew has many meanings, but here suddenly change direction or position. The direction suddenly changed in some other direction, goes in some other direction, and then we use it's a regular verb. Skew, skewed, skewed. An important word. Sustain, we have got many a time. It has two or three meanings. To cause or allow something to continue for a period of time. Simply, you can remember the word maintain. Sustain someone's interest means what? Maintain or hold someone's interest for a long time. That is one meaning. But today we talk about climate change, we talk about environment, we talk about sustainable goals, sustainable practices. What does it mean? Using the resources wisely, thinking of the future generations. Then we say sustainable practices, sustainability. A red tape. We also use the expression generally. We say red tapeism. You can say red tape. You can also say, what is this Project 24 here? I'm not the person to answer that question. When our director comes, you should pose that question. This is not the platform. I'm not the right person to answer that question. Who is this Yashoda? Red tape. Please focus on the vocabulary, focus on the analysis, try to enrich your English proficiency. A red tape or red tapeism idiom. Excessive bureaucracy or adherence to official rules and formalities. In the past, India was known for red tapeism, like any other developing country. But today we have something called single window system, and they kept red tapeism aside. Red tapeism means what? Bureaucratic hurdles. Imagine there's an industrialist. He has the expertise, the skill. He has knowledge, and he has the investment. He wants to start an industry, but in the past he had to submit a lot of documents, had to wait for a long time, and that is known as, because of the bureaucratic hurdles, that is known as a red tapeism, and this has been given in exams many a time. Now we'll go to the editorial. An important editorial. There's every possibility to get something like this in the exam as a passage, close test, or para jumble. Here, the next frontier. Next frontier means next field or realm or space. But the literal meaning of frontier, boundary. The next frontier on India's space sector. But what is the main idea of this editorial? The government must keep the regulatory environment of space sector clear. Because new players are emerging, new players are coming, that means from the private sector and also from foreign direct investment. The regulatory environment means the policies that go with space, they should be related to space sector, they should be crystal clear. The main idea is very simple. In the past, only the government agencies would go deal with the space frontier. But today, a lot of private players are dealing with the space frontier. And because the private players have entered the space frontier, government has to come up with a particular policy, and that policy should be crystal clear. No ambiguity whatsoever. Then you can expect progress. The whole idea is that space used to be the final frontier, but its increasing exploration has changed that. For people on the planet Earth, the ultimate is what? Space, celestial bodies, heavenly bodies. Space used to be means in the past, used to be an important helping verb. A lot of Indians use this quite often in the sense while talking about I used to do something. I used to do something. This refers to past habitual actions. But if you talk to native speakers, they use a helping verb, would. Both mean the same. I used to see movies on Sundays. A typical Indian says, and easy to understand. I used to do this, I used to do that. But if you talk to the native speakers, they say, I would do something. I would see movies every Sunday. Both mean the same. Would is rather stylish and used by native speakers quite often. Space used to be the final frontier, but its increasing exploration has changed that. Now, a lot of people are exploring, including the private parties, so that it has changed, replacing a romantic notion with narratives. Today, if you take our culture, moon, we consider moon a person, we consider sun a person, and there are so many narratives which are part of Indian culture. Replacing a romantic notion with narratives, with replacing all these romantic notion with narratives with financial, socio-economic, and geopolitical implications. In the past, space something romantic associated with fables, stories, myths, all these. But today, all those have been replaced with financial, socio-economic, and geopolitical implications. Space technologies and space flight are expensive, risky endeavors that only national agencies were suited to engage in for decades. As I said, in the past, only the national agencies would involve in space frontier. Reasons behind risky, expensive, risky. Basically, taking up not sports, taking up space related projects, quite expensive and risky. We all know some incidents related to the American space explorations. A few people died, and always risky. Not only that, one has to spend a lot of money, quite expensive. Space technologies and space flight are expensive, risky endeavors, means ventures that only national agencies were suited to engage in for decades. For decades, the frontier belonged to national agencies. Now things are changing. This is no longer true. An important expression you have to remember. It is no longer true. Your future endeavors. Okay. This is no longer true as private sector players are increasingly expected to complement, augment, and or lead the way by identifying market opportunities and innovating rapidly. Now the new players, who are the new players? The private players, private sector, players from private sector. This is no longer true as private sector players are increasingly expected to complement, add something, augment, increase something, and or either additional information or choice, and or lead the way by identifying market opportunities and innovating rapidly, innovating very fast, very quickly. India started on this path in 2020 with state led reforms that opened its space sector to private companies. When did India think of the private players and when was this started? This sentence talks about that. India started on this path. What is this path? Involving private players to complement or augment. This path in 2020. How? With state led reforms. Here, state means a nation state, an independent country, a sovereign country, with state led reforms that opened its space sector or space frontier to private companies. Then releasing, based on that, releasing the geospatial guidelines and later all these talk about evolution, Indian space policy, creating the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center in Space E. Initially, it started with geospatial guidelines, later converted, and later the Indian Space Policy, creating the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center in space. Indian space policy. Basically, it is about Indian space policy. And passing the there are two things. One is Indian space policy, the other dimension, Telecommunications Act. And passing the Telecommunications Act 2023, that, among other departures from the Indian Telegraph Act 1885, provided for satellite broadband services. To provide the services, they had to touch another dimension, Telecommunications Act, among other departures from the Indian Telegraph Act 1885. What was the objective behind? Provide for satellite broadband services. On February 21st, the government opened the door to 100%. Now, all these talk about foreign direct investment. At the outset, I said there are two dimensions when it comes to this editorial. One, in the past, space frontier belonged to national agencies. Second dimension, now things are changing. Space frontier no longer belongs to the national agencies. Now it belongs to the private people from private sector as well. Right? Not only people from private sector, there one more dimension, foreign investment, foreign direct investment. This talks about the policy related to FDI. On February 21st, the government opened the door to 100% foreign direct investments, FDI, in the manufacturing of components and subsystems for satellites, ground segment and user segment. All these 100%. Up to 74% in satellite manufacturing, operations, and data products, and up to 49% in launch vehicles, spaceports, and their corresponding systems. Whenever you read a passage, basically what is the objective behind bringing an editorial to improve your reading comprehension skill, and once you improve that in the exam when you read the passage, you will be able to answer many questions. Whenever you come across any passage, the data, you have to focus on that, because based on this information, I'm sure in the exam you can expect one or two questions. They may ask about the percentage, 100% where, 74% where, and 49% where. You have to remember. As such, by stepping out of the way and allowing substantial FDI, stepping out of the way, a regular way, you come out of that, step out of the way, doing something new or innovative. As such, by stepping out of the way and allowing substantial FDI, I use this word substantial quite often. When you read the newspaper every day for 60 minutes or listen to the editorial sessions, watch the sessions, you improve your comprehension skills substantially. Substantially means considerably. Allowing substantial FDI via the automatic route, the government has taken, present perfect tense, the logical next step in spurring, increasing or improving the contributions of private space flight operators, technology developers, and application designers to the national space economy. In line with, we have got many a time, in line with ambitions outlined in the space policy. They match with the ambitions outlined in the space policy. This talks about the who is going to play a vital role or a crucial role, and what are the areas that are going to contribute. As such, by stepping out of the way and allowing substantial FDI via the automatic route, the government has taken the logical next step in spurring. Spur means to make something happen, to increase, or to make something active. The contributions of one, private space flight operators, second, technology developers, and the third, application designers to the national space economy, a separate term, national space economy. And this is in line with, in tune with, matching ambitions outlined in the space policy. They go with the space policy, ambitions or objectives. The decision gives India the ability to take advantage of its less vitiated foreign ties to catch up with China's more advanced position as a space power. As I said at the outset, it also touches our neighbor, China. Where exactly does it stand? The decision gives India the ability to take advantage of its less vitiated foreign ties. Vitiated, an important word. Foreign ties to catch up with China's more advanced position as a space power. What is happening when it comes to China? The next sentence talks about that. While the Chinese program benefits from not inconsiderable private sector participation, its ability to attract foreign investments is hamstrung by its belligerent foreign policies. China has a problem in the sense the foreign based on the foreign policy. Its ability to attract foreign investments is hamstrung, means restricted. Why? Because of its belligerent foreign policies, means aggressive foreign policies. And the Xi Jinping administration's plan to modernize the military by, among other things, adapting civilian technologies for military use, though other countries, including the US, have similar policies. There's also a negative dimension related to China. According to INSPACE Chairman Pawan K. Goenka, a significant or important slice of the 37.1 billion US dollars billion dollars that the space sector raised worldwide in 21-23 went to space startups. Many they raised the funds and the funds went to space startups. Where did they invest? It talks about that. Against this extended backdrop or background, new investments can add to India's space economy. We can expect new investments add to India's space economy by improving startups' access to talent and capital, effecting a better balance between upstream and downstream opportunities versus the current skew change in direction in favor of the former. Former is an important word. Former, latter. Two words you have to know. Former means the first in position, and latter, double T. You got to be careful with spelling. Second in position. What is the first in position here? Upstream. And what is the second in position? Downstream. Something is in favor of the former, means in favor of upstream. All these things talk about India's space economy by improving startups' access to one talent and capital, and based on that, what happens? Effecting a better balance between upstream and downstream opportunities versus the current skew in favor of the former, boosting local manufacturing and improving investor confidence. All this results in boosting local manufacturing, promoting indigenous companies, and improving investor confidence. Finally, to sustain these winds of change, so many changes, winds of change, sustain, maintain these winds of change, the government must keep the regulatory environment clear. The main idea is being reiterated. What is the main idea here? The regulatory environment, the policy should be crystal clear. Finally, to sustain, maintain these winds of change, the government must keep the regulatory environment clear, reduce red tape, reduce bureaucratic hurdles, increase public support, and ease Indian companies' ability to access foreign markets. This is what the editorial says or thinks, opines, in a way, suggestion. These winds of change, the government must, we use must to express a personal obligation, and in this context, obligation imposed by the editorial, by the writer. It says must keep the regulatory environment clear. Main idea is being reiterated. Reduce red tape, bureaucratic hurdles, increase public support, and ease Indian companies' ability to access foreign markets. I guess that is the last sentence. Now let us go to questions based on comprehension skill. Spur, stimulate, encourage, prompt, galvanize, motivate. Who is this? Shubham. Very good. I appreciate that. When you contribute from your end something, then Others can also learn. You can consolidate. The session becomes an interactive session. Read the first question and try to answer. What significant step did India take in 2020 to open up its space sector? To open up space sector, India took an important step. What is that step? Establishing the Indian Space Research Organization? No. Launching the geospatial guidelines? Hold this one. Forming the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center? Hold this also. Implementing the Telecommunications Act 2023? No. Between B and C, what is the answer? C is the answer. Forming the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. I think you guys got it right. Very good. Go to the next one. What is a recent development mentioned in the editorial regarding foreign investment in India's space sector? As I said, it is about FDI. FDI, we got one sentence there. The sentence talks about 100% and 74%, 49%. You got to cross check and answer. 50% direct foreign direct investment in satellite manufacturing, 100% FDI in launch vehicles and spaceports, 100% FDI in manufacturing components and systems for satellites. So, what is the answer? 49% FDI in ground segment and user segment. You have to be very careful with question number 2. Please mention the question number. Only then I can respond and say whether it is right or wrong. This you have to cross check. 49, 2 students have said, 3 students have said the fourth one. What is it? 49% FDI in ground segment and user segment. Let us go to where it is. We can cross check, that should not be an issue. You can have a look. 100% foreign direct investments in the manufacturing of components and systems, subsystems for satellites, ground segment and user segment. Many students have said 49. 49% where? Launch vehicles, spaceports, and the corresponding systems. Now let us go to the question. Ground segment and user segment. What is the third one? 100% FDI in manufacturing components and systems for satellites. Is it D or C? Cross check again. Anything related to statistical data or facts and figures, you got to cross check. According to the editorial, what is the primary advantage India gains from allowing 100% foreign direct investment in the space sector? What does India gain? Now I see many students say 2C. Please go to the third one. Strengthening military capabilities? No. Enhancing global geopolitical influence? No. Attracting foreign investments and catching up with China's space advancements? Hold this one. Accelerating space exploration for scientific purposes? What is the answer? Question number 3. C is the answer. Attracting foreign investments and at the same time catching up with China's space advancements. Question number 4. What does the editorial suggest could be the potential impact of new investments in India's space sector? Because of the new policy, new investments, private players, and what is the impact, potential impact? What could be the potential impact? Reducing access to talent and capital for startups, you need something positive. Creating a further skew in favor of upstream opportunities, hold this one. Boosting local manufacturing and improving investor confidence, hold this also. Decreasing public support, you cannot consider a negative one. It should be either B or C. Question number 4, C is the answer. Very good. Boosting local manufacturing. I also use the word indigenous companies. and improving investor confidence clearly mentioned in the passage. What measures does the editorial recommend for sustaining, maintaining the positive changes in India's space sector? There are changes, and to sustain those changes, what is required? Or what does the editorial recommend? Increase bureaucratic red tape. That is not correct. Maintain an unclear regulatory. We cannot consider a negative option because it talks about recommendation. Recommendation has to be positive. Reduce public support. Ease Indian companies' ability to access foreign markets. Answer should be D. First one, it should be decrease, not increase. And not unclear, should be clear. And reduce public support, negative word. So what is the answer here? The last option, something positive. What is it? Ease Indian companies' ability to access foreign markets. Companies, a plural noun ending in the letter S, then we should use the apostrophe after the letter S. Let us go to editorial vocabulary. These are the words we got yesterday and try to write the part of speech and the meaning. But the key words, you don't have to write the complete meaning. What is the meaning of discriminate? First, what is a part of speech? Discriminate someone based on gender, based on race, based on community, discrimination or prejudice or bias. Try to consolidate your editorial vocabulary. Vocabulary is very important when it comes to mains. This slide helps in the long run. Discriminate is a verb. Discrimination is a noun form. Unfair treatment, very good. Likhita Lokesh, wonderful. Unfair treatment, to show prejudice, to show bias, to treat someone unfairly based on, in the context of the editorial, based on gender. Discrimination against women at the workplace and in army. Fair can be usually fair complexion, fair treatment, adjective. What does it mean? And any word, every word in English has two or three meanings. Try to write based on the context of the editorial, not the primary meaning. No partiality, you can say that also. But the second one, fair means just, without any partiality, just, proper, perfect, impeccable, impartial. All these words. I appreciate your response. Archaic, archaic, part of speech, adjective. How do you pronounce this? Archaic. Archaic, adjective. Archaic, old fashioned. Old fashioned, outdated. Who is this? Sai Priya, first one to respond. Very old or old fashioned. Patriarchal, an important word. Patriarchal society means what? Adjective. Almost 80%, if you look around the world, the societies are patriarchal, but only a few are matriarchal. Head of the family is the father, patriarchal, and matriarchal, mother is the head of the family. Good. Overtones, overtone, singular, overtones, plural. That means it is a noun. Overtones of something. Please mention the word number. That is very important. Yes, 4 over, you have to respond. Fifth one. Overtones means what is not said directly. Implications, implied connotations, something that is implied, or it goes with perceived connotations. Implication, yes, something conveyed indirectly. Very good. Coarse, coarse usually goes with cloth. But here it is an adjective. It does not go with a piece of cloth. It goes more with someone's behavior. A rough, if you are talking about a piece of cloth, a rough, but here it is not about a piece of cloth, it is about behavior. Then you have to think of the word rude. I told you. Coarse here in this context means what? Rude. In fact, the literal meaning, rude or vulgar, but generally we don't use the word vulgar, we use the word rude. Rude means what? Not polite, impolite. Penalize, part of speech, verb. He has been penalized, she has been penalized. What does it mean? Penalize. Punishment, very good, Sai Priya. First one. Penalize means to punish, punish someone. Parity, part of speech, noun. It also, all these words go with gender bias and gender related issues. Parity means what? Yes, punishment, penalize, punish. Parity means equality, something equivalent or equality, being at the same level, getting the same treatment. Very good, Sachinarayana. Equality. Deeds, deed singular, deeds plural. That means it is a noun. That deeds are not acceptable means what? Actions. Deeds in the context of the editorial, deed has two meanings. One meaning, a document, legal deed. That's a different thing. In the context of the editorial, actions. Abysmal, part of speech adjective, an important word. Abysmal. Abyss, from that you get abysmal. Yes, deed means activity, action. You can also add who is this? Yes, Durga. Action performed consciously, deliberately, intentionally. Wonderful, I appreciate that. Answer the 10th one. Abysmal standards, a combination based on that adjective. But what is the meaning of that word? Abysmal performance, abysmal standards. No one has responded the 10th one. It is a negative word, it has a negative connotation. Something very bad or appalling or shocking. The next one, part of speech, verb. Bully someone, intimidate someone. Intimidate means frighten. Frighten someone, intimidate someone because you think that person is vulnerable. Usually it goes with school English. Extremely bad, you can say, Likita Lokesh, very good. You can say extremely bad, appalling, shocking, very bad. All these words, not one word, two, three words should pop up. You have to think of the synonyms as well. Bully, part of speech verb, to intimidate someone. Grim, part of speech adjective. Grim situation, grim picture. A positive word or negative word? First, you have to know that. Grim is a negative word. Something very bad, gloomy, sad. And abide by, part of speech verb. Abided, it can be a regular verb. You can also say abode, but generally we prefer abided. Serious, gloomy, sad. All those words you can think of. Abide means to stick to adhere to follow. Gloomy is the right word. Very good. What is the last one? Obey also you can say. Hurdle, part of speech, noun. A hurdle means a problem, a bottleneck, a hindrance, an impediment. Hurdle. We have got many a time. Good. I appreciate your response. Keep responding from the start. When I do the analysis, I may give the meaning of a particular word. If you know the synonyms, respond. If you know the word forms, respond. If you know the word combinations, respond. That way you can consolidate your knowledge. Vocabulary knowledge, very important. That's all for today. Thanks for being with me till the fag end of the session. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.